And there we are. And that's how it is. Greetings, one and all. Yeah, what a... It's Friday. You can see, here we go. There you have it. That's my arm. I am so screwed. My thanks to everybody yesterday at St. Thomas's Hospital, all the team in the hand trauma unit. I'm Russ Kane. This is Men's Radio Station, and this is The Daily Show. Let's get on with our first guest, shall we? I'll tell you all about what's going on in what passes my life in a minute. Hello there.
Hi, Russ. I'm good, thank you. How are you, Mortimer?
I'm shit. I am 100% bloody awful.
You must be in a lot of pain. If
I'm in a huge amount of pain. Yeah, I really am. So, yeah, I'm going to ease up from doing this, and other people are going to have to pick up the slack because I'm kind of done. Yeah, it's really is unpleasant, but we're not here to talk about me. Let's talk about you. Thank you so much for joining us on The Daily Show. Really appreciate it. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm in a little bit of pain as well.
What's going on? What's going on?
Sorry, I'm just wobbling here a little. I've got a little bit of a inflamed nerve in my shoulder blade.
So
yeah.
How did that happen?
I'm not sure exactly. Possibly from going to the gym, throwing around.
Well, weights. you see, there's your first mistake. What the hell are you going to the gym for? You see, this is where it all falls down. You don't want to be doing that. You want to be like me and doing nothing. I can't even walk the dog. Anyway, tell us why you're here. Tell us all about yourself and welcome. Thank you. It looks like you're wearing a rather elaborate hat, by the way.
Oh, am I? Oh,
no, it's because of that. So it's brilliant. It's like it's a really fantastic sort of Elizabeth Emanuel hat.
Do I look a bit Russian?
That's beautiful. That's like you could be going to like Ascot or somewhere like that.
Well, I will leave it. I'll leave it there.
No, please do, because it's also a very stylish lamp. May I say that?
It is a stylish lamp.
It is a gorgeous lamp. I really like that lamp. One of the things that I love about Men's Radio Station is we get to see everybody's homes.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you that during lockdown, I was bored shitless from everybody sitting in front of endless bookshelves. I'm so intellectual. Here's all my books. I don't have a bookshelf. I used to have bookshelves. I don't have a bookshelf. I just got piles of books, the Tower of Babel sort of thing. So I'm being nosy, being a writer, of course. So being nosy. Yours, this is stylish. This is saying style. Yeah.
I think actually, I'll have to take some lessons on styling my background, and maybe I should invest in a bookcase or move.
No, don't. Then you'd be like everybody else. It's as dull as hell.
Everyone's
got a bookshelf. No, I don't like that. I like it when it's really interesting. I like it especially when kids are running around or dogs suddenly appear.
Well, my cat's here, but I've put my dogs away because they're too noisy.
You put them down?
No, I've put them away upstairs in the back bedroom.
Oh, yeah. Well, my dog's not here. I got to ask you a question. I don't know why you're not here. By the way, I want to bring on. You don't know him and you don't love him, but I know him and I like him. The late Neil Long.
How is it my Fitbit says 11:59?
Your Fitbit's shit, and realign it. Right, Lahani. This is Neil Longy Long. So there we go.
Hello, Lahani. I apologise for my tardiness, but I thought my Fitbit had the right time.
Well,
he's not great, but he is the cheapest I could find in his field, and that's basic. That's basically it.
Harsh.
It is harsh, but it's true. Now, Lahani, where were we? Oh, yes, right. Tell us why you're here.
So, well, I'm a psychotherapist and I have a
Oh, thank God. God, do I need you at the moment? Boy, yes. I'm not joking. Yeah.
Neil,
I really need you at the moment. I tell you that.
Gosh. Actually, Russ, I'm really concerned about you because you must be on mega amounts of painkillers.
You got that right.
Yeah. So we could have a really lucid experience today.
We're having a very lucid experience, but I think that the albatross that has just flown past you and the beautiful mermaid that's on your left shoulder is a little bit of a surprise.
We could do some assisted therapy, Russ. It would be really interesting. Anyway, I digress. I'm sorry. I'm a psychotherapist and I specialize in psychosexual therapy. So that's everything.
Oh, hello.
Oh, have you lost me?
No. I was interacting with you. Come on.
Oh my goodness. Who's the one that's lucid? So yeah, I specialize in psychosexual therapy. So that's everything under the umbrella of sex, sexuality, sexual function, sexual performance, sexual ideation, gender dysphoria, and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
Which is really interesting and very current. Because finally, as a society, we're starting to talk about sex and what it means to us.
I think that's all we seem to be talking about. I like the way you've said finally. It's like, geez, we have to hear about this again. I don't mean you. I mean, like, Christ, how much is there to say about it? God's sake.
Loads. But the thing is, we're talking about sex, and I think we're talking about it a lot because we're still learning how to do it. We're a bit like toddlers. You know, we're running. Yeah, I think so. As a society, we're running around all over the place talking about sex. Everyone's talking about it, and we're all falling over all over the place as well because we're not really.
Could you not say falling over, please?
Apologies, Russ.
Thanks.
I've got so many questions I could ask you on this.
Have you?
Go ahead.
What? How do you do it? That'd be your first.
Well, that'd be a good start.
How do you do it?
Yeah. Well, Neil's led a very sheltered life. Before he was a top DJ and broadcaster, he was a priest. And there are still. That's not true. No, I'm making that up completely. So, he was Father Neil. Very, very popular. He was.
It seems to me that the whole world is talking about it. Most people are confused about it. It's used to sell everything. Some people judge and condemn it, which pushes it further underground. And none of that strikes me as particularly healthy.
It's not. I don't think it is either. But that's why I say I think we're
love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think we're like toddlers because we're only just learning to speak about it in a meaningful way. So it's been used in all the ways you've said. You know, it's been hidden, it's been abused. We use it to sell everything from, you know, toilet paper to God knows what, you know, tender lady pads. But I think the meaningful conversations are about sex are just starting now. And that's what does it mean for us? How does it impact us? And how does it curtail and limit our life existence? And when we start to have those conversations in a very adult way, then we'll think differently about sex and about who we are as sexual beings.
Can I just tell you, before we get into the meat of this, my favorite ad that used sex, right? I used to live in New York, and there's a kosher wine out there called Manischewitz wine. You couldn't think of anything less sexy than kosher wine. No. Trust me. All right, it's like Ribena that you've added 8 tons of sugar to. It's just. I'm not a fan, right? So it's Manischewitz. So I'm watching these adverts. I was living there in the 70s, right? Late 70s, and so they got this very sexy girl, blonde, clearly not Jewish, obviously, sort of like the archetype sexy blonde, and she's got the bottle in front of her, and she sort of holding the bottle, and she's going, "Man, Manischewitz." And to me, that was like the worst. It just has still, all these years later, made.
Have you seen the Skittles? Have you seen the Skittles advert?
Yeah, I don't understand. I think that's revolting. I think it's revolting, and I think it's done by people. You think I'm on drugs? You should see whoever wrote that. I think they're off their faces with it. But the juxtapositioning, Lahani, as you say, of selling any old piece of crap and trying to make it sexy is just bonkers.
Tell us more, because I'm absolutely intrigued, because this has been not a bugbear, but I have observed this for years. That, I mean, there was, when I was at school, right, I'm 53 now, when I was at school, the only sexual education that we did, the only sex ed, and it was one thin book. It was a thin pamphlet-y type book, and that was just one double-page spread within that book because it was general biology, and it was really funny because all the boys in the class, that's another thing, all the boys in the class, it was all boys, opened the book and it fell open at the same page 31 times simultaneously, and it was actually quite a funny moment because we all wanted to read this chapter on sex, and all it was a picture of a vagina and a picture of a penis and the biological workings of. There was nothing, and with a slightly wiser head, I think, where was the teachings on consent, relationship, communication,
We didn't
pleasure,
have that then.
and and all those good things? It's just not there. So please tell us more.
Well, it is now. Sex education in schools now is massively improved, and they do indeed cover all the subjects you've just said there. But when I was at the school, I'm the same age as you. On the diagrams, on the female anatomy, they completely omitted the clitoris. It didn't exist.
Good God.
No wonder people can't find it, Lahani.
Exactly. But, because the sex was
like having an ordnance survey map been redacted.
Yes. But I think the reason being that somehow in the day, or even now, it's okay to talk about sex as long as we're not talking about pleasure. When we start talking about pleasure, then it's all a bit scary and smutty. People get a bit scared and a bit uncomfortable.
Why?
I don't know why, but I guess it's because we somehow immediately start to reveal something about ourselves. And there's something, and we've all grown up in this Western culture where, sex was dirty, your bitsy privates are private, the whole kind of, we call them privates. We socialize and condition our children to believe that no one should see them. They're bad somehow. We shouldn't touch them. We shouldn't masturbate. We shouldn't enjoy sex. Sex is for whores, not for nice girls. This is, the feeling.
Yeah, I know. I've heard all these memes and I don't agree with any of them.
Well, I don't either. But of course, if we have that attitude about sex, then when we talk about sex, we're very guarded and we make sure we talk about it in a way that we're not on any level demonstrating that we enjoy it.
Really?
But isn't that crazy when you think about it?
It's
like we're not supposed to enjoy it. Everyone knows we enjoy it. People enjoy it, but we're not supposed to enjoy it. So we pretend we don't enjoy it when we enjoy it. And it all stays in ignorance.
Well, hang on, Neil, Neil, you've lost me. We pretend that we don't enjoy it when we enjoy it.
Yes.
We think we're allowed to enjoy it because we're embarrassed about admitting that we enjoy it.
I'm on a very different planet to you today.
Okay, we're embarrassed that we enjoy it, so we pretend we don't enjoy it.
Who's embarrassed?
Everyone, the Western world.
The Western world, women in particular. I mean, we're not. The society's changing.
I don't get that.
Kind of like ownership of sex, which is good, but it's kind of swinging a bit too far the other way, in my thinking. But that's because we're finding our feet. But you're absolutely right, Neil. You're 100% right. Men with men amongst themselves can talk about sex in a very kind of sporty way. They're out there going.
Those kind of conversations. Yep.
Exactly.
Well, that's very guys. That's very. Oh, Jesus, that's very cliche, isn't it? To say that all guys do that. I've not been in conversations like that. Way all that crap. It's very cliche, isn't it?
Perhaps you have.
It's very Benny Hill.
And perhaps you have. I guess we'll never know. But I would guess that you probably have at some point in your life. I'm sure you're wise enough now not to do that.
Wise. What's more, Lahani, you've known me 10 minutes and using the word wise. You've fallen at the first fence.
What would you prefer us?
Older and no wiser, I think.
Older,
older but no damn wiser. I think
there was a meme that went round in America a while ago. I think it was from one of the sort of deep South states, and their meme was "Sex is dirty and nasty, therefore you must save it for someone you love." And they didn't see the absolute contradiction in that. It's that kind of contradiction, but it seems so relevant still today. I'm glad to hear sex ed improved in schools, but it's really, really relevant. And then you bring religion into it, no sex before marriage and all that.
Religion.
And that's not really helpful either. I've seen people who are quite religious based get married just so they can have sex without even really knowing the person. They just have to have this marriage, which somehow turned it from dirty to not dirty by performing some sort of ceremony. It's crazy shit.
Yes.
It is crazy. And what's really interesting around religion and sex is I work with a lot of people who are religious from various branches of religion who say, I'm not going to have sex until I get married, but they do it everything else other than penetration, as if magically the moment you have penetration something happens. But they'll do oral sex, they'll do digital penetration.
Are they saying that doesn't count?
Yes, because it doesn't say that in the Bible.
Idiots, aren't they?
It does, in the Bible,
idiots.
it doesn't say you shall not digitally penetrate someone. It just says don't have sex. It's just crazy.
It's all garbage. That's the point about it. Do you know what? It's absolute garbage. And
And
I
the
don't know
irony
how they
is-
fool themselves. They're just fooling themselves in an idiot's paradise.
But it's the most natural thing in the world. And this is one more thing, and I'll get off my rant. You know, we show TV programs of people killing each other and video games of people shooting prostitutes and violence towards women and accessible porn on the phone where women are being brutalized. And we say that's normal. And yet mention sex and people are up in arms because they say it's dirty. Therefore, it stays in the dark. And that's where the shadow lives. It's bonkers. I'm so glad you're on.
And Neil, only Americans will get this. I'll do this for all our American viewers. Only the shadow knows for sure. Britons won't get it. Americans will get it.
And then there was that American televangelist. You said Benny Hill. That reminded me because his name was Benny Hinn, and he got caught with a prostitute. So there's absolute hypocrisy there.
They're the world's biggest.
Here's the thing.
They're the world's biggest tax-avoiding, Learjet riding con artists on the planet.
And there's the thing, Russ. He asked for forgiveness, but apparently she charged extra for that.
They are unbelievable, and I don't understand. It's a real American thing, and thank God we don't have that garbage over here because they are con artists of the first order, and that's all.
Lahani, tell us more, please. I'm going to be quiet now.
I just want to pick up on the penis thing because about sex didn't happen unless there was penile penetration because. And this is a problem in the West that we don't believe sex happened unless there was an erect penis and there was penetration. And if that didn't happen, there was no sex. And that's why there's never been any laws against lesbianism. Lesbians have always been there in the background, but no one cares. There's no penis. And the downside, the problem with this is that men's worth is tied up in the capacity of their penis. That's it.
Well, I'm screwed.
Well, I'm not personally. I'm all right on that score. But you were saying, Lahani?
Yeah,
it is. And
they don't call him Neil Longy Long for nothing, Lahani.
You said it for me, sir.
I didn't.
Go on, please continue, Lahani.
Do you really think that men's? Say that sentence again, Lahani.
Yeah, explain that.
This is deep stuff, and I'm loving it. Come on.
Yes, men's worth is tied up in the capacity of their penis.
No, I don't think so. Do you think so? Who says so?
I think men are so easily and quickly shamed around their penile capacity.
Really?
One of the reasons why they don't go and seek medical help when their penis starts to fail them when they really should, because it's an early indication of their health problems. If you start to fail in getting nighttime tumescence, so erections in the night or erections in the morning, or if you struggle to get a good enough erection during sex, you need to seek medical help quickly.
Wow.
Because
men are terrible at doing that anyway, particularly over something which they're embarrassed about, right?
Yeah, because they're shameful. Because it's for them. So, but really, if that's happening to you, then you're possibly looking at, I don't want to scare anyone, but you're possibly looking at early onset of diabetes or heart disease. Wow. And if you don't do anything, you could within 5 years have a heart attack. And there's lots of data to support that. So,
well, I didn't know that. That's really interesting. But it is treatable. If someone's listening and a bit worried, it is reversible if it's cool.
Of course. Go and get medical intervention, get the support you need, look after yourself. Like any health condition, if you let it get to a point where it's chronic, it'll be harder to treat.
It could be you don't fancy your partner.
What was that? Sorry?
I said it could be that you just don't fancy your partner.
Could be that. It could be that.
Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Now, coming in from America, Lahani, this is Asa Don Brown, who is in New York State, not New York, but New York State. He's a huge fan of the show, and he's a fascinating guy. He's high up in the psychotherapeutic community in America. I, too, have worked with several individuals and couples who've had personal angst. Now, the reason we read this out, Lahani, is this show goes out on another station called Deluxe Radio. There's about 70,000 people listening, but they can't see it. It's what we call radio. So I've too worked with several individuals and couples who've had personal angst around sex and their personal sexuality. Religion, the worst thing ever invented, is often to blame for the taboos and hang-ups around sex. No kidding. I've had patients who have left their spouses in both Canada and the States over sexual issues. Yeah, sure. I bet you have, Asa.
So what's the most common thing you deal with, Lahani? Is it really just expunging shame? Is that what's at the deepest level of all this? What walks into your office more than anything else?
In couples therapy, what walks in more than anything is couples who have stopped having sex.
Right.
And sometimes one or the other isn't sure if they want to reconnect or if they can. And quite often people come to therapy. They don't come to therapy until they've stopped having sex and stopped having any kind of physical contact at all. And, you know, sex is such a big part of relationship, because if we take the sex out, then what you've got is a great friendship. If you put sex in, then you've got a relationship.
Is that a terrible thing?
Not necessarily. It's up to you. I mean, some couples.
Let me turn, Lahani. Let me ask you this. Let me flip the coin. Let me flip the coin here. Right? You can have great sex with somebody, and it can be terrific, but you don't actually want a relationship with them. Or you can have a wonderful relationship with somebody, don't particularly want to have sex with them, but they could be your best friend. And it's very important in your life, and are much more important than having great sex with somebody that you see occasionally. Putting that out there.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right. And it really depends on what you want from a relationship. And I'm all for people having relationships in whatever way they want. So if you want a relationship without sex, great, that's fine. But if you want the sex in the relationship, then you have to find a way to get that with your partner. And Russ, also, I have to say, you know, great sex, especially in the early stages of a relationship, is really performative. It's kind of like above the line. It's all up there. It's effervescent. It's brilliant. It's amazing. Hanging off wardrobes and all that sort of stuff.
Honeymoon phase.
It's high stimulus, but it's not real intimacy, because there's so much anxiety. Well, it's just performative. And
where does this anxiety come in? I'm not feeling that. Where's the anxiety bit come in? What are you anxious about?
So when I say anxiety, I'm talking about new sex with somebody who you've only just met.
Yeah. So why are you anxious?
About your self-worth, and whether or not you're good enough in bed, whether or not you can please your partner, whether or not you'll be pleased, whether or not if you're a man, your penis is big enough. If you're a woman, your vagina is moist enough.
I must have had a really blessed life. I swear to God, I really must have had a blessed life.
Then you're a lucky man, Russ.
I am. Do you know what, Lahani? Well, in some ways I am. Well, I'm not that lucky, but you know, it's really interesting, because I understand this is what you do, and people, but I just don't find it. I never found it confusing, or
I bet you're very busy though, aren't you? I bet you're super busy.
Well, Lahani, I bet she's incredibly busy. Yeah, sure.
And of course, Russ, there are people like you out there who are blessed and just found it easy, that path through life, who have found partners, had long-term relationships, and everything's just okay. But in the current society, when there's so much noise and so much narrative and so much choice, it's a lot harder to find that or navigate through life.
That was one good thing about the time I grew up, because there was less choice.
Yeah,
there was certainly less choice in genders, if you know what I mean.
There still is,
when I was at school,
Neil. There still is. Don't buy into that. It still is.
Jury's out for me on that one. I was discussing it with friends last night, but we could probably do a whole show on it. But when I was at school, it was straight, bi or gay, and it was as simple as that. And I was straight, and I'm totally cool with that. And I never have had any problem with any other flavour of sexuality in people. It's not my thing. It's not my thing. I don't have an issue with it. Never did, but people do. People do that, don't they?
And neither do they try and proclaim that you have to get involved and proclaim that you have to take a great interest. And neither do they scream and shout and carry on like raving lunatics and bully. And I just find it. I find what's going on. This pendulum will swing back.
Well,
it's gone too far, and it'll swing back, and all this bullshit will stop. But it won't be pleasant. But when that pendulum comes back the other way, it will not be nice.
No. But I mean, if you're talking about the pendulum of gender, I don't know if it will. I think it's a little bit like a garden gone wild. You know, for a long time, we've cultivated sexuality, we've trimmed it, hedged it, and kept it in very narrow boundaries. And
that's
so,
a mistake, I think.
Much like a garden, you know, we've got nice privet hedge with square edges. If you let the garden go wild, then all sorts of wildlife comes in, and you know, you end up with a really beautiful space.
And pests.
Well, a pest is a perspective, isn't it? One person's pest, another person's wildflower. But in that same way,
one person's yuck, another one's yum.
Exactly. But in terms of sexuality or gender, understanding of gender and how people experience themselves, we are a garden that's gone wild, and I don't think personally that's a bad thing. I think too many people have been contained and brainwashed, and are held in narrow understandings of themselves for too long.
I agree. Do you know, actually, I agree with you. And I think this awareness of diversity in sexuality, because one thing, even before I started studying a bit about sexuality, I was convinced that human beings were super diverse. No two people, it's a paradox. We're all the same and we're all different. It's one of those things. But in the all different bit, we really are all different in that way. And there's so many different flavors. And I don't think anybody should be left out, each to their own, without judgment, as long as they're not harming anyone and within the law.
Yeah, and there are some people. I remember when I do work on the BBC, and we go into a news break, and they're taking phone calls, and I'm not going to say who, and the person's going, "Yes, well, that's very interesting." And then we go into a news break, and they just look at me, and they go, "They're raving mad." And I think there are a lot of people who really need your psychiatric help.
I think the problem comes in when people get a bit tribal about it, sort of like the People's Front of Judea and the Judean People's Front. If one is LGBTQ and one's LGBT and we're better than you, no, we're not. We're better than you. That's where the problem starts.
The internecine fighting between these groups, which have about 3.5 people as a member, is just bonkers. And it is part of everything that's happened to do with race relations, to do with any sort of relations. We have gone backwards. We have gone so far backwards in the last few years. It is frightening.
What would you like to see if you had your sexual ideal in the world from a mental health point of view? What would that look like to you? And what are you working for? What are you working towards?
So I'm not trying to make anybody be anything or fit any particular mold. What I do is I help people understand who they are, where their limitations are, and where their desires and pleasures are, and then go for that in a safe and ethical way. And I would like to see more of that. I would like to see people have the space to really work out who they are and what they want from the world, or how they want to be in the world, more importantly, and then do that. That's what I want. I want people to be themselves. And I think what happens is people have a revelation. They go, "Oh my goodness, I'm gay in some sort of way," and then they try and enforce that on everybody else, and that's a problem. Whereas really, what they should say is, "Oh my God, I'm whatever, gay or whatever," and own that and leave lots of space for other people to be themselves.
It's like
so basically live and let live. And
live and let live. Do what you want to do. Get on with your life, but don't drive me crazy about it. It really is how I look at it. I know you think I'm a meat and potatoes guy, and part of it's because I'm off my face with pain today. But Lahani, the thing is this is what drives me mad. I don't go on a parade and go, "Yay, I'm heterosexual, look at me." I just get on with my life.
But Russ, you don't have to. Yeah, you do that because you don't have to, because the world is designed for you. The Western world is designed for you. Everything is designed for you. It's like being you're a right-handed person in a right-handed world.
I'm a left-handed person with a broken left hand.
Oh, okay. Well, but if we use that analogy, the world is designed for you. Everything is cultivated from your views and your opinions. So you don't have to shout.
But trust me, it really isn't. My opinions are just honey. Let's get real here. My opinions are just my opinions. I don't care if people, I just mind my own business and get on with my own life. And the reason that I co-founded this radio station was to create a non-judgmental space. I don't say a safe space. I don't like that phrase because it just reminds me of idiots in university in California. It's a non-judgmental space where we can have a really grown-up conversation. Everyone can shove in their 10 cents worth and no one is ridiculed. It's about the guests and it's about our viewers all over the world. Yeah. That's why I did it. But I just like to get on with life. Whatever you want to do, that's fine by me.
And again, Russ, I'll say how fortuitous for you that you can just easily get on with life, because life is designed to meet your needs, not designed to meet the needs of everybody. Of course, it's not.
So people that we would call perhaps minorities have a much more difficult time in that acceptance and exploration, which you need to do for yourself first before you can share that with another. And that is basically what you're there to facilitate for those people that need that. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
Thank you. And there is so much about power dynamics in all this, isn't there? when you say the words that you say, Russ, I think what a privilege to be in that place, peaceful place, where you don't have to shout to be heard or to be seen or to be represented. That, you know, just in doing your ordinary living, the world facilitates your every need, almost as if by magic, you know, whatever you want.
I don't know. I'm sorry, it doesn't. This is, you know, I'm not living in Walt Disney. Well, anti-Semitic. I'm not living in Walt Disney World where everything's magically wonderful. I live and let live. You do what you want to do. That's absolutely fine by me. I don't care. Enjoy yourself. I don't mind. It's none of the point is it's none of my business.
Yeah,
it's not.
I think
this is where I think we go wrong, Lahani. I think where we go wrong is that everything's got to be everybody else's business. Do what you want. I don't care. It's nothing to do with me. It's fine. Enjoy yourself.
Curious? Is it not good to be curious about other people and how they might experience?
Well, as I've been broadcasting since 1984, you don't think I'm curious about other people?
No, of course you're. But then there's
what do you think? As a writer, right, and write novels and stuff, you don't think I'm curious about other people?
I never said
Jesus, it's what I do.
But what I'm saying, Russ, is that of course you're curious, and that's why you have the radio show. But at the same time, there's a contradiction in your narrative. In the one hand, you're saying, you know, we don't need to know about everybody's story, and on the other hand, are wanting to know about everybody's story. So
I think the only place we can start is ourselves and other people, particularly peer groups, because peer support is of absolute need for everyone in life, in every aspect, I would say, including sexuality, in a certain developmental stage. And I certainly think we need that, and other people can help us facilitate it. But do we need to know the ins and outs of everybody's story? That's kind of media gone crazy. That's Amber Heard territory, almost. I think it's interesting to have a good self-awareness and an awareness of other people in a healthy balance. Amber Heard, way out of balance.
And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. It's got nothing to do with why Lahani's here. And you've been great, by the way. I hope you've enjoyed being here.
I love it. I love coming on your program, Russ.
Where can people find out more about
hang on, what I was going to say is this. Hang on, Neil. What I was going to say, when Johnny Depp wins this case, and he will this case, and once the dust is settled, I hope he sets his sights on all the liars in the UK, all the people who enabled Amber Heard. I hope he sues the newspapers that didn't do due diligence. I hope he sues the people who committed perjury on the stand in the High Court of Judicature in London. And I hope that the authorities, who, when people have realized that they have committed perjury, go for them. I don't care about Amber Heard's and Johnny Depp. They're two multimillionaires. I'm not interested. No. What has upset me beyond words is that this has diluted the real victims, and you must see these, Lahani, the real victims of domestic violence and domestic abuse. Yeah. And it's made it into a bloody three-ring circus. Yeah. I'm going to bring on are you all right for time, or do you want to dash off? You got patience? What's this?
I've put time.
Do you want to hang with us for a bit?
Can we just find out where we can learn more about your work, Lahani?
At the moment, the best place to find me is probably on Instagram or Twitter. My webpage is it's not ready yet. It's been rebuilt. But yeah, if you look for me on Twitter or Instagram, you'll find me there. You can contact me. If you mail me, I'll get in touch with you.
Oh, we've got. Look at this. You see, I'm not going to John. I'm ahead of you. I'm asking Lahani to hang with us. We're hanging. We're the cool kids. We're hanging around the water cooler in the office. Talking of cool kids, they don't get much cooler than this. There she is.
Chantal.
Hello, how are you? And hello, Lahani.
Well, here's the answer to your question. Don't even go. Yeah, I know. Jesus. I have to say that the two metal rods in my left hand are delightful.
I know. They're making you slightly spiky today, Russ.
Man, it's called In Pain, Not Sleeping, and my life is buggered up. Hey, I got to tell you this before we get on to showbiz and everything like that. So they showed me the x-rays right after the op yesterday. I nearly died because there's my hand, and there's it looks like two chopsticks crossed over going right through my hand. And you know me, I'm pretty squeamish. So I go, Jesus, right? So and then I said, well, look, people may not believe this, especially my partner and everything. So I said, can I just take a picture of my x-rays? Oh, I can't do that. I said, well, can I just take a photo of my... No, hang on. So can I just take a photo of my x-ray? They were, no. I said, well, why not? They said, well, patient confidentiality. I said, I am the bloody patient, for Christ's sake. What's the matter with you?
That's
Oh,
ridiculous.
don't do that.
So you weren't allowed to take a photograph of it?
No. But
Nonsense.
you can write. I said, but I'm still the same guy who's going to write to you. And now I'm standing in front of you with my phone. I just want a picture of my own hand.
That's lunacy. I wanted to see the picture.
This is the world we live in. This is the world we live in, Lahani. This is the bonkers world we've created.
It's bureaucracy gone mad, hasn't it?
It's just, I mean, they were so sweet. And can I just publicly thank everybody at St. Thomas's Hospital? They were magnificent. I know we bang on about the NHS and how horrible and useless. They were sensational. I don't know how many people were looking after me yesterday, but like loads. And the team in the operating room, they were just marvelous. They were just marvelous. They really were.
Good for them.
They put you out, or was it a local job? Was it a general?
Well, I've got to tell. I want to get on to the shows, but I got to tell you, I hadn't really thought it through. So I took the bus there, as I do, and I got there, and I think, well, they're just going to kind of deal with my hand. This isn't going to be too terrible. But when you have to strip down and you put on the paper pants and you're putting on the gown, which with showing your arse to the world, and you've got on the compression stockings, which I'm still wearing. I don't want to excite you, Sean. I've still got them on. And you're putting on the non-slip socks, and you're thinking, oh my God almighty. And immediately you think you're going to die. I mean, you just do. And then they wander you through to the operating room, and everyone was really sweet. I mean, they're a fantastic team. And you're thinking, hang on, there's a hell of a lot of people in this operating room for just like major team. And then you lie down, and then they're putting these weighted blankets on you. And the best bit. So what we're going to try and do, we're trying to do it just so we can localize the hand area rather than general anesthetic. I said, oh, that works for me. That's good. So we're going to inject your hand. I said, and I had injections in the hand in A&E. Christ. They hurt. I'm not exaggerating. They were. It's not like a blood thing. I've got no problems with needles, no problems with injections. Fine. Never had one in my hand. Holy God. Anyway, so I said, well, how many? How many injections are you going to put in? A few. Can we define a few? 7 injections later, at which time they could peel me off the seat. And the one thing I was determined not to do, because everyone was being lovely, I thought, I'm just not going to swear. Because Chantel, I've got a terrible potty mouth. I thought, if I start effing and blinding, because it was when those needles are, God. And then I thought, I don't want to see any of this, because I can hear soaring. I can hear. And I'm thinking, oh, shit. I don't want to see. So I've got my eyes shut. The nurse is chatting. So what are we talking about? We're talking about dogs. I'm thinking, let's talk about anything. So we're talking about Ebony, the mini schnauzer, and everything. God almighty. God damn.
Poor you. But much better than a general anesthetic. Much safer.
Yeah, because those, they make you crazy, and I'm crazy enough. Now, Lahani, Chantel comes on every week. She is the former CEO of BAFTA in Los Angeles, and she gives us a rundown of all the good things to watch on TV or the cinema. So hang with the cool kids. That's what I say. Right. What's come across your purview?
Well, I was going to start with a program presented by somebody called Jim Moyer, only because I had no idea who Jim Moyer was.
Are you kidding me?
No, I didn't know it was.
He's married to the wonderful Nancy Sorrell. Nancy Sorrell's been one of my guests on the show.
Well, I didn't know that. So for those that didn't know and are as stupid as I am, Vic Reeves' real name is Jim Moyer.
You wouldn't let it lie. You would not let it lie.
But it's anyway, he's a comedian I've liked for many years. He's a sort of direct contemporary, I think. We're about the same age. But he's a very nice guy, and he's done something sort of rather different, which is present a great program on Sky, which is all about arts and crafts, which becomes so popular in the last 2 or 3 years. We've got Repair Shop. We've got the spin-offs with Jay Blades from Repair Shop. We've got programs about ceramics and knitting and sewing and goodness knows what. But this is the latest in all of those, but with the Prince of Wales. So you get this added dollop in the platinum year of the Prince of Wales, and 6 crafts are being brought to the fore in a bid to save these crafts for future generations. Because every year, I think last year we lost completely 4 crafts that disappeared off the British map. And
Well, seriously,
never come
they're
back
never going to be done again.
and will never be done again.
Wow.
So, I mean, it is amazing that you can watch a program about, you know, whittling a stick of wood and actually getting enormous pleasure out of it. It's very non-inflammatory. It's very gentle. It soothes the soul in a gorgeous way. They've got these lovely 6 kids who are learning these new crafts. They're crafts themselves, but they are shown different disciplines in each week, whether it's, you know, whittling a stick or playing with stained glass or weaving. They do something completely different each week, and then at the end of the series, by week 6 or week 7, they will present something to the Prince of Wales for his foundation and at Highgrove, and all will be well. But I've watched the first couple. They're joyful. It's just a lovely hour's telly.
It's Jim Moore, who created the character Vic Reeves along with Bob Mortimer. Bob Mortimer is his kind of real name, but Vic Reeves was Jim Moyer's dad's, one of his pals. And he just thought, I'll take that name as a showbiz name. And he's married to the absolutely gorgeous and utterly charming Nancy Sorrell, who, as I said, has been a guest. And they've got twin daughters who are now, God, what are they, 16, I think the kids are. They're beautiful. They're as beautiful as the mum. And Jim is a wonderful artist. His book on British birds is, and I'm not an ornithologist, is so wonderful. And
really?
It's absolutely a real work of art. So this isn't like some showbiz Herbert trying to jump in on the bandwagon. This is a really talented man, and they're such a loving family. That I'm big fans of them. Big fans.
Oh, well, that is gorgeous. I didn't know that. But anyway, it's on Sky. It's really worth watching if you just want some sort of gentle, sort of like tea time telly. It's just absolutely lovely and definitely.
That sounds like the kind of TV I watched when I was about 14 with my mummy and daddy eating crumpets where I had to have an early night, a bath and go to school.
Exactly. It was a bit sort of Jack Hargreaves, if anybody remembers Jack Hargreaves, who used
out of town.
Yeah, exactly.
Say what you will, the countryside is still the only place that I could settle down. Jack Hargreaves.
Indeed.
You've disappeared. We can't see you. Which
you can't see me?
No, we can't. We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay. Well, that's a bit random. Hang on. I don't know what's gone wrong there.
While Shantas is sorting out the fabulous technical issues, Nahani, do you like those sort of things? Do you find those programs relaxing? Or
yeah, one of the best programs I've watched recently was the one about the Octopus and I.
I haven't seen that. It looks magical.
Absolutely fantastic. I really wasn't expected to be drawn in the way I was, and it was just. I would say it's peaceful. It is peaceful. There were parts that were traumatic, actually traumatizing, because, you know, the octopus was in trouble. But I think after dealing with people, I don't know if you're the same, Russ, but if you speak to people and you're taking information all the time, the last thing you want to do is go home and watch a documentary about people.
Exhausting. It's exhausting. You get complete overload from it. I agree with you. Can I ask you a question as a psychiatrist? Let me ask you. It's an absolute serious question while Chantal is sorting herself out. When I watch The Repair Shop, now if you'd pitched The Repair Shop to me, I would have gone, oh my God, that is a terrible idea. I adore that show, and I always cry. And I don't cry about anything, and I get so emotional. I just love. I know I'm being manipulated. For God's sake, I write programs. I know that. I've done it for many years. But why is it? What is it that touches us, do you think?
Great question.
Yeah, I think there's something about that real soothing, it is a manipulation. I've got stuck on that word. I think there's something really soothing and gentle about it. Yeah. The familiarity of it.
Why does it speak to us so much, though?
It's like, do you know when you smell something and it draws on a really deep memory and you can't...
cut grass takes me back to being a kid at school.
Yeah, exactly. I think
love it.
Takes you back to that original innocence, which can be quite a tearful experience.
Happiest days of my life. Happiest days of my life.
Yeah, the memory and the loss of it also. You know, as soon as we grasp it, we also grasp the concept or the idea that we've lost it. It's gone.
Do you think, talking about loss, you see, this is really interesting. Talking about loss, I guess my take on it is, I mean, I don't know the people who are the craftsmen. I certainly don't know the punters coming in with their rocking horse or clock or whatever. I don't know them. I'm never going to meet them. But I think it's seeing something so gentle, something that means something so much to that person, and then seeing it brought back to life. I don't know what it is. Let's get Chances back. There she is.
Hello. I don't know what happened there. Just gremlins.
Just pay your electricity
Lahani's
bill
nailed
like
it. I think
everybody
that was
else.
a brilliant question, and I think you absolutely nailed the answer, Lahani. And to it, I'd possibly add, and possibly the tantalising possibility of recapturing that innocence, albeit through watching it in someone else and therefore sensing it in yourself.
Yes.
My question, Chantal, was in all seriousness, when I watch the repair shop, I always cry. I tear, and I don't cry. I mean, you've known me a long time. I don't cry about anything, but it makes me so emotional. I feel so invested with it. It's just beautiful. I don't know why.
Well, it's just lovely that sort of, in a way, just seeing other people's emotions and understanding that, life is emotional. Oh,
well, we can hear you. I don't know what's going on.
No, my camera keeps turning itself off, which is extremely peculiar.
There you go. There we are.
Okay. I'll just
see, even in close up, pure glamour. I can say that, Lahani.
Well, there we are.
I can say that. I'm not going to get arrested. I'm allowed to say that.
I'm on a different camera now, so we'll see.
There we are. Okay, well, that looks good. Right, what else have you found?
So, talking about seeing other people's emotions, I think that we've talked about it before, but there's a brand new series out of Love on the Spectrum on Netflix, which is where people who are on the autistic spectrum come together. And America has now taken the format which came from Australia and has created their own series. It's just beautiful. It has no guile. There are no these people have no filters. They have no guile, which is what's so lovely. You're in a way, their emotions are completely raw, completely real. Nice. There's a lovely chap in this series called Steve, who is 63, who's only just been diagnosed with autism. And he's felt his whole life that he was weird. And suddenly, given a diagnosis, he now realizes that he's just part of a long spectrum of people in all shapes and sizes, and he feels part of a community and understands his own life so much better. And again, it's one of those things, it just makes you feel better about your day, and everybody should watch it.
That's not a million miles away from your work, in a sense, Lahani, is it? Just feeling part of something rather than feeling like the other.
Yeah, sure. And some people really want diagnosis. It helps them. It helps them feel kind of contained.
Just when I had OCD, knowing it had a name was an absolute relief, and knowing that I wasn't alone, because as we've said loads of times.
I didn't know you had that.
Oh, yeah. 3 weeks in sight board in my early 20s.
You still got it? You still got it?
No, comes back a bit under stress, but essentially, no, it is overcomeable.
I realized I had a bit of a problem. Right. Do you remember the film with Julia Roberts and Patrick Bergen called Sleeping with the Enemy? That? She's married to this horrible guy, so she fakes her death and goes away, and he tracks her down. Spoiler alert. He tracks her down, and she goes into her bathroom, and the towels have all been laid out neatly on the radiator. And the whole audience goes, whoa, and I'm going, well, that looks right to me. I thought, that's what I'd do.
No, because we all knew he'd done it. It was a jump scare.
Well, I thought, yeah, the guy's sorting out the towels.
And then she goes and checks the kitchen cupboards, and the tins are all lined up with the labels to the front.
Hey, excuse me. My 2 racks of spices. I got 2 massive spice racks. Right? I'm sharing today. Everything is in alphabetical order and facing the right way.
Okay.
Really?
Well,
yeah. How else are you supposed to find?
No, but that's fine because
it's me, isn't it? Oh,
you recognise it. I think that's fine.
No, but that's not OCD. OCD
can I have a block booking, Lahani? Lahani, can I have a block booking?
I'll book you in for a month. I think OCD is more there's a distress to it. It's not just that I like things tidy, that there's a distress. It's the compulsive behaviours are acted out in order to manage really difficult thoughts and feelings.
If my labels aren't straight, then my grandmother will die. It's that kind of thing. It's that kind of thing. It sounds insane, but
no, it doesn't
so
sound
many
insane.
people OCD.
If I didn't walk, I'm really sharing. I don't think I've ever spoken about this. I think I once said it to Joe Good, and she thought I'd gone mad. If I don't walk to the right of a drain cover on the pavement, something terrible will happen. Yeah, well, there you go. I'm better now.
It's a thing, but you
And you-
recognize it, and I think that's
Yeah.
fine.
No,
And actually, that
doesn't hurt anybody.
no, and that's a
Doesn't
very good lead into the next show I was going to talk about that was on Channel 4, a documentary this week about Elon Musk, who I met in 2018. He
You
came
met
to
him?
one of our BAFTA parties in Los Angeles
What's he
at
like?
the Chateau, the very famous
Oh, the
Chateau
Chateau.
Marmont.
Oh,
And it was a party that Burberry was giving for BAFTA to raise money for BAFTA, which was jolly lovely. And Elon Musk arrived. And I went up and I talked to him. And within 20 seconds, and I am no professional at all, I'm barely a professional in the television industry. let
stop
alone
it. Don't be Lahani. You have no idea. Chantel's CV, most people would kill for it.
Oh.
Yeah, we're
Unbelievable.
not. We're
She's
not
very,
allowing that
very
one to
modest.
pass.
So
Be
take no
done
notice.
with your pseudo humility, Chantal.
Okay, fair
just
enough.
park the humility.
But
Fooling no one.
within 20 seconds, I knew he was on the spectrum.
Oh, really?
Absolutely
Right.
could
Wow.
diagnose it.
What was it, Chantal?
Well,
What-
he's Aspergic, but very interestingly, he did not declare his Asperger's or understand that he had it until last year. And I thought, but I met you in 2018, and it was absolutely, as Alf Garnett would say, bleeding obvious that this guy was on the spectrum. He doesn't do eye contact. He looks into the long distance. He doesn't look directly at you when he's speaking. And these are all what I thought were sort of common telltale signs, not in everybody, of course, but generally it can be a sign of people who are Aspergic that they don't relate to you visually in that way. But he only told the world last year on one of the big Saturday night evening shows in America that he was Aspergic, which I thought was fascinating that he hadn't understood that of
Yes.
himself until that time.
Which begs the question: is it a disability, or is it just a problem with other people that don't understand it?
Well, exactly. I mean,
Ooh,
I think
good.
we're all on the spectrum somewhere. It just depends on which bit you're on.
Yeah, apparently we are all on the spectrum, but we're all on different personality spectrums as well. Like some people are on the OCD spectrum. So, this is ordinary life, they're okay. And when they're under pressure, they rise up a scale. And if life gets really bad, they end up with some kind of personality disorder or a psychosis. So your preferred pathway is OCD.
That's interesting, because when I get stressed, I find the thoughts coming back and I have to go, no, don't be stupid. And luckily the logical mind is strong enough to cut through it now, because it's ridiculous. I mean, logically, it's ridiculous. If I could make my grandma die by not lining a tin up properly, I mean, we could sort Putin out within a second just by going and messing up the tins in my cupboard.
That's
You know,
why my
so when you think
spices
about it,
are
it's
lined
insane.
up. That's why he's
But when
not
you think
well.
about it, it's insane. But the pain it causes, it doesn't. You're right, Russ. It doesn't hurt anyone else, but my God, it hurts the individual who's got it.
It can do. Can I chime in very quickly with a show? I don't think it's for you, Chantal, at all. But if you, it's 3 series in, and it's animated and live. It's a mixture of. David Fincher, the fantastic film director, is kind of the brains behind it and directs some of them. It's very, very dark. It is not for children. Please don't think it's cartoons. Oh, kids, come and sit with me on the couch. Please don't do that. It's called Love, Death, and Robots. Love, Death, and Robots. It's on
Where's
Netflix.
that on, Russ?
Netflix.
Oh,
It is. It's patchy. Some of it is utter genius, and some of it you go, okay. But I have to say, wow. I mean, if you like animation, the stories are extraordinary, but it is dark.
Great.
Very,
Well,
very.
I will look it out. I
I
don't
don't think it's for you.
Okay.
Well,
anyway,
knowing you as I do, I don't think so. But it's brilliantly done.
Just so that people know, the Elon Musk documentary, which is a one-off on Channel 4 that came out this week, really asked the question of whether he's a superhero or a supervillain. I'm not going to say either way whether he is one or the other, but it's a sort of interesting take. Some people have really criticized the show and said it's a stitch-up, and other people saying it's got a refreshing new take on him and the business and Tesla. But actually, the documentary in itself is, if you're interested in Elon Musk, and he is, the man of our times,
Yes, he is,
and worth knowing more about, then have a look. Documentary, Channel 4, Elon Musk.
Can I throw this
He's
to
a genius.
Lahani
I'm not sure if
while
he's
she's
an
here?
angel.
Can I throw this to Lahani? Do you think we hate success? Because I love success, but when you see
do,
somebody
and I
like
like seeing
Elon,
other
they
people
have to
succeed
tear him
too.
down. What do you think?
It's really tricky, isn't it? I think in England, the English culture, we all know this, the stiff upper lip and all that. We're not supposed to boast about our successes, and if we do, then we're open game for being attacked. In America and the other parts of the world, it's different. It's okay to boast.
I think it's about how you do it as well. If you go around boasting about all kinds of stuff in an arrogant way, then you're open for attack. But generally, people that do that are bullshitting.
Yes,
I've met many of those.
and they're horrible people.
But the people that are genuinely confident don't really need to show off much. They're just kind of too busy doing it. And if you ask them, they'll tell you, yes, I'm good at this and I enjoy being good at it. And there's nothing wrong with that. We shouldn't hide our light under a bushel. No way.
And to expand on that, Neil, I think it's about your intention, isn't it? And some people, their intention is to show you that they're one above, that they're one above you. So I'm going to show you my successes, and my intention of doing it is
hate that.
But the paradox with those people, the more superior they think they are, the more inferior manner they behave generally.
Exactly.
And isn't it true? The moment they leave the room to go to the loo, if you're having dinner or something, you just look at each other and go, "What an arse!"
Yeah.
I don't care if he's a multi-millionaire. What a complete twat.
Yes, absolutely.
And they come back and they think they're marvelous, and you're impressed, and you're just sitting there going, "You could be richer than God, but you're still an idiot." And that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Any more, Chantal?
Well, actually, I always try and find, one of those sort of true crime documentaries on Netflix. They are so good at this stuff these days. And there is one that I spotted this week, and it sort of happened to coincide with me thinking about a film that I'd watched 40 years ago. It came out at the Cannes Film Festival 40 years ago this week, which was a wonderful Jack Lemmon film called Missing. And he played the father of an American journalist who had gone missing in South America. I think it was in Peru. I'm almost sure it was Peru. It was a brilliant movie and a terrible story about this young American journalist who had disappeared. And it was all caught up in the sort of, horrible system of political intrigue and corrupt governments. And this young man had gone missing and was never found. Anyway, but that made me think about this documentary that came across my desk called The Photographer, which is about a guy called Cabresas, who was a photographer in Argentina in the 90s, who was found handcuffed to the wheel of his car, and the car had been burned out.
Oh.
And it was described as an accident that this man had died.
Yeah.
Now, clearly, I think the clue is in the fact that the car, he was manacled to the car in some way.
You are the Cressida Dick of our times, Chantal, with this sort of detective work.
Yeah, well, indeed, I am. I should have been a detective. But actually, the documentary is very good. It's a 90-minute special. It is an extraordinary tale of political intrigue. Yeah. And he had taken one photograph of a very, very private but very well-known businessman who wanted no photographs ever taken of him. And this one photograph he took, he published it on the front of a magazine, and within a few weeks he was dead.
Wow.
And it's an extraordinary story, but my God, there are murky hands afoot. Everybody comes out of this badly. And it is worth just understanding a bit more about what goes on in South American political intrigue. It's worth watching. It's called The Prisoner.
Isn't it? I'm going to say this, and everyone's going to go, "Oh, shut up, Russ," but I will. In memory of Phil Dave, right? Yeah. South America, I'm not going to completely generalize, but the stuff that goes on there, the corruption, the police brutality, the murders and everything, the left never get excited about that. You never hear them mention it because it's not Israel. Moving on.
Anyway.
Moving on.
Have you heard of a program called, I'm sure you will have done, Everything Everywhere All at Once?
I have, but I haven't seen it.
No. Is
it Korean or Chinese?
Korean. It's Korean, isn't it? I think.
I've heard this or something recently. Did I hear it here or somewhere else? But I have heard of that. Do you recommend it?
I haven't seen it. My brother's seen it, and he's told me to watch it. And I was thinking, oh, I'll just see what Chantal thinks of it.
No, it's on my list. It's on the list, but I haven't seen it. But it's bubbling. Everybody's talking.
Is it parallel universes? It's something like parallel universe. I don't know. It looks fantastic. I'm going to watch.
Oh, I love stuff like that. I love stuff like that.
Yes, great.
Brilliant.
Because that would mean there's like lots of versions of us at different points
Yeah.
in time on the universe.
Yes.
And therefore, it makes the kind of spectrum even bigger because there's more than one of us. Ooh.
Ooh, the multiverse.
Something like that.
Anyway, Chantal, just quickly as we
just quickly, not for you because you are on your own here, but there is a Ricky Gervais special that's just arrived on Netflix.
I love him.
Superhuman. I thought you hated Ricky Gervais.
I love Ricky Gervais.
Okay,
I wrote a script for Ricky Gervais. I met him. He was absolutely charming. I love him.
I take that back. But his love of dogs and your love of dogs are so enmeshed in terms of, how wonderful they are and how they fill one's soul with happiness. So you will, in that case, you will love it because dogs feature very heavily in it.
It's so nice to say something nice about people. People have preconceptions and everything. Ricky Gervais could not have been more down to earth, more normal, just delightful.
And one word,
as opposed to somebody else that you had a lot of dealings with in America when you showed him the prize. We'll leave it there.
We'll leave it there.
Lahani, you've been terrific. Thank you so much.
Lahani.
Not
fascinating
only,
work. Good luck with everything. I think what you do is superb. Thank you.
Not only are you fascinating, you're a really good sport, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's been great. Chantal, always a pleasure.
Guys. Happy
Neil,
weekend.
have a wonderful weekend. Bye, everybody. Stay safe. I won't see you Monday. Neil's in charge. I'll be back, God willing, maybe Wednesday. Bye now.
Bye. Good afternoon.